All right. Welcome to the Mastermind Podcast. I get the pleasure today to interview a friend of mine, a partner of mine, Vince. Obviously, you guys know we work and operate Mastermind together, but what some of you guys might not know is you hear a whole lot about his practice, CFG. And then more importantly, we're going to talk about his appointment process, virtual appointment process. The funny thing is, Vince, I get this all the time on a daily basis. Advisors are happy with the leads that we can provide, but the problem that they're getting is they're just not being able to put pen to paper, so to speak. So I'm really excited about this podcast. We'll see how long it goes. It might be a two-part one, but if you are listening to this, I would get a pen, paper, take some notes, because there's going to be some good gold nuggets here that are going to help people close some more business. So Vince, before we get started, just give us a little, if you can, just give us a little background of CFG and kind of where your practice is at currently.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Well, first of all, you're off to a great start, by the way. So good job.
Thank you. I'm working on it. We're practicing here. We got feedback from my wife on these podcasts, and I'm not going to say what the feedback was, but we're going to work on it. We're going to get there.
You know, we started this podcast before the end of the last year, and then we had to kind of reset, rebuild, and then that's why we call this, podcast number 4, even though I think it's like podcast number 10. But,
yeah.
The sales side of things, I think, has been something that we haven't talked a lot about, or at least gone into a lot of depth in. And so I think this is going to be more of like, hey, we're going to really pull back the curtains here, talk about what our meeting process is, because it is a bit of an art form. It's not necessarily a sales process. I don't like to think of it as a sales process because I like to think that we are generally helping people. We're actually trying to help them with their financial situation. We're not trying to just make a sale. Obviously, when we bring on more people, that helps our business and our revenue, and we do focus on some of the revenue aspects. But the revenue part will come if you're doing the right thing by the client and if you're looking at it the right way. So as far as CFG retirement goes, we're a financial planning firm based in Minnesota. We focus on retirement planning, and we do education workshops, and we do webinars and emails to help us generate those appointments. And then our meeting process is about a 3-part meeting process. So, like you said, we might have to go into another podcast to kind of go into more depth if we want to. I don't want to make this one too long. I think what we could do is go into maybe like the first meeting and maybe a little bit of the second meeting. Yeah. And then the close we'll leave till the next podcast. Although we do have a really good idea for the next podcast, so
we'll see. That's a good cliffhanger, though, right there. Huh?
Yeah,
you're gonna give first appointment, second appointment, and then how I get them to close. I'm just gonna hold off until you listen to the next one. So really bringing them back in.
The close. The funny thing is, the close is easy because they ask me what the next steps are. So
that's awesome.
That's where I think a lot of people get it wrong, where they're like, what's your closing question? Well, there's a little bit of a closing question, but it's really not like you have to make a decision today, or we can't work together or something like that. And I was taught to do certain strategies where, if I move this, would you be okay? And that stuff works. And the funny thing is, that was more when I was doing like mostly dinner seminars, doing the annuity sale. It was a lot different than what I'm doing now, where it's very, I want to call it more passive, very Minnesotan, very passive aggressive, yeah. If that makes sense. But because the funny thing is, I work with an advisor that we've been doing the meetings together, Mark, and he called me a sloth, and Mark's from New Jersey. Okay, he's like going at it. Hey, you need to close this. This is an important meeting. You need to be here. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. The New Yorker mindset, so to speak.
Yeah. And he's a great guy. But like, to me, like, it just, when I hear that stuff, it just like makes my skin crawl a little bit, because that's not my approach. And so when we do these meetings together, it's a little bit different, where I'm running the entire meeting from beginning to end. And he likes that I do the meeting, but the only part I think he does not like is that maybe I take my time. Like I really want the client to understand what they're doing, what they're currently in, and what they're going to do going forward, how that's going to benefit them, and then also making sure they understand it. That's the biggest reason why I think a lot of people don't move forward with financial advisors, because they don't understand it. A lot of times us as financial advisors, we talk too much about the jargon, we talk too much about the numbers. We think we're showing them something so great because, look, how would you not do this? Look at the numbers, it's so much better.
Yep.
But the problem is they don't understand what they're going into. So I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah. And I mean, before you go too far, there's a couple, I think, gold nuggets that we need to bring out there. It's like, one, you're not pushing, you're offering advice. You're just purely trying to help them, right? You're not going through the typical dinner seminar sales pitch. It's purely educational. I think that's something someone really needs to take home, is you're just trying there to help. You go in with that mentality, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but if you go into that mentality, more than likely you're going to have more successful meetings. And it's kind of like that whole jab, jab, right hook sort of Gary Vee sort of mindset. Is just give, and they're going to want to work with you. So I think that's a really
I'm not gonna get everybody, and
right.
At the same time, the give, I want to educate them, but you have to educate them at their level. You can't educate them at the financial advisor level, because the financial advisor level, we understand things and we've been doing this for a long, long time, versus the, what the consumer thinks. They're thinking about themselves, and rightfully so. They should only think about themselves in this process, but they need to understand it in a way that they can understand it, rather than you giving all this, just vomiting information onto them. And look how much better the situation is. But if you walk them through the process, and here's how it's better, and you can get it to have them understand why it's better for them, and they understand what they're going into, then they're going to basically ask you, okay, what do we need to do to get you to be able to do it for me?
That's awesome. Yeah, and then you keep saying you're kind of he calls you the sloth, but out of curiosity, when I've talked to these advisors, and some, just what's the longevity of your appointment process from, let's say, beginning the first meeting with the client all the way to pen to paper? Like, what's that time frame? You say sloth, but is it 2-3 months? Is it what's that?
So it's generally about a 3 meeting, maybe 4 meeting process, and each meeting's about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. Okay. And we usually space out each meeting about a week. I usually don't go longer than that, just because, as you know, time kills deals. So if you get them to think about it too long, they're just going to go back to what they're doing, just because they're just comfortable. And you have to understand that people, more often than not, people don't like change. Even if it was better for them, they will still wait to make a change. And that's just because we're all professional procrastinators.
Can relate there. Definitely relate there.
So I think it's we can go into each meeting though, and kind of go more in depth on each one.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, you're roughly right around a 3 week, maybe a month aspect of time, right? At most.
Oh yeah. So it's about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. So if we think back to all the way, I'd say you're right. It's 3 months if it's from the beginning of marketing. So if we say, hey, we're going to start marketing, we launch ads 3 weeks before our seminar to then do the seminar, then someone books an appointment, usually within a week after the seminar. And then, so that's now 3-4 weeks, then another 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. So that's 8 weeks, right, before we get paperwork in?
Got it. Very cool. All right, well, let's set the stage. Appointment one's coming in. You're taking a look at it, hopping on, I'm assuming, a Zoom. But yeah, set the stage on what appointment one looks like for you.
So whether it's a Zoom or an in-person meeting, it's the same. And the reason why is because if people come from my seminar, from my webinar, it's basically the same webinar, same seminar, and they're asking for a financial plan. So this, just to give some context, I'm not trying to do lead chasing. I'm not trying to do anything other than I want them to ask for the appointment essentially. Now, every now and then, yeah, we will go ask them if they want the appointment, but that's just because, again, they're professional procrastinators, and we need to help them move that ball down.
Yep.
So with the first meeting, I generally have them fill out a retirement strategy analysis beforehand and bring in their statements. Not all people do, but the majority do. So about 90% of them do. Now, the online people, if I'm doing a meeting virtually, most of the time they're not going to have that stuff ready for you, because there is a little bit more of rapport building that you need to do virtually versus when you did an in-person seminar. So when I go through the first meeting, I first just ask them like who they are, what do they do for a living, what do they like to do for fun, just to actually build some rapport. And I try to find ways to relate with them. So, oh, you live in Colorado? Okay, what do you do out there? Oh, you like to ski? Oh, sweet. What else do you do? Oh, you like to hunt? Okay, what do you hunt out there? Oh, you hunt upland bird? Oh, that's great. Like I go upland bird hunting too. So, do you have a dog? Yeah. Okay, then you go down that rabbit hole, right? And so you spend 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes just talking about a bunch of nothing, but then you have to make the transition, and that transition has to be kind of seamless, where you're like, well, I know we didn't plan on talking all about, hunting or fishing today. So I know we're here probably more to talk about, the financial aspect. So what made you want to book an appointment with me? Or what made you want to book this financial planning process? And then they'll just open up. Mm-hmm. And then they'll say, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So just so you know, this is the way that we work. We typically will go through multiple meetings. This is a meeting just to kind of get to know you, kind of understand where you're at and what you're trying to do. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. Is that okay? And they usually say, yeah, I figured you would. And so I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and then you can ask me a lot of questions afterwards. The reason why I need to ask a lot of questions is just kind of figure out what you're doing now, and then what potential areas might there be to significantly improve your situation. And everyone's really open to that. And so then I say, great, so tell me, what are your goals? What are your financial goals? And they'll say, well, I want to make sure I don't run out of money. Wow, great. That's the majority of people. But I'll dig deeper. So I'll say, okay, you don't want to run out of money. What makes you scared about running out of money? Do you feel like you don't have enough? Well, I've always been told I need $1 million to live off, or to retire off of. Oh, okay. So what do you have right now? Well, I have $700,000 in my IRA and $200,000 in my Schwab account, and as a hypothetical scenario, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, great. So it sounds like you've saved well. So you're worried about running out of money. It sounds like you have a lot of money. Why do you feel like you need to, I know you're not quite at $1 million, but what made you think you had to save $1 million? So you dig down deeper. Mm-hmm. And you really want to pull back the onion as far as, okay, so what is this money going to do for you in retirement? Well, I want to live in Florida, and I want to be able to go golfing every day. Okay, so your idea of retirement is living in Florida, going golfing every day. Is there, how much is golfing? How much is that? Okay, so we need to be able to afford all those things. What else do you want to do? Well, I want my grandkids to visit me and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you like to create memories, it sounds like. Yes, exactly. I want to create memories. So you try to get the money aspect tied into the emotion, so you understand why both of these things matter. Okay, and if you don't get the emotion part, you can't go back into the second meeting or even the third meeting to understand how to present a financial plan to them to tie it back to their emotions.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is why I said paper and pencil, right? Or write this down. Some great questions. And I think that's something to bring home. You're trying to really dig down and find their why, right? Why is all this important? Why do they care? Focusing on all that. And you're not going into the numbers. You maybe talk a little bit about yourself, but again, the majority of that first appointment meeting sounds like is trying to find out their why, their pain points, and how. So down the future, you can kind of answer those questions and answer and find out. You can fix their why, basically.
It's if you think about it, it's very similar to a sales process that we get pitched a lot on, where when people call financial advisors as sales process and they say, okay, so how many meetings do you get now? Well, I only get 2. Okay, well, how many meetings do you want? Well, I want 5. Okay, well, how would that change your life then? Like they go, oh,
Yep.
so if you got 3 more, how much more revenue would that make you? Okay, so what would that do to change your lifestyle? Okay, what would you do? I don't know, I'd go on trips more. I would, buy a bigger house. So they're tying it, they're bringing that money aspect all the way back to your emotions for you to be motivated to do those things. If they don't do that, they won't be able to close the sale, or at least not very easily. So that's why, like, you guys all hear that same pitch. I know you do, because we get pitched it all the time from other vendors and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, this pitch is getting a bit old, to be honest, from these other financial advisor marketing vendors. But when you think about it, it's genius. I mean, consumers don't get pitched like that every single day. And it's not a pitch. It's just trying to find why are you doing those things? Like why if you saved all this money, why? You saved all this money to just save it? No, you saved this money to retire. Okay, what are you going to do in retirement? All these different things. But you really, really got to get down to the emotional part, and the real deep emotional part too. So, for example, like my dad, I didn't realize this either until actually reading my dad's book, that he loved to take us on family trips. That's why, and why did he save his money, and why did he try to make a lot of money? Well, he wanted to make sure that if there was any health issue, that he was able to fund it. So when my brother had throat cancer, my dad basically funded the entire thing. He was like, I want you to go down to MD Anderson. They're the best doctors. They have the best treatment. It's the newest treatment. He paid for his apartment when he went down there. My brother's wife was pregnant at the time, and actually their kid was born down in Texas when all that happened.
Oh my gosh.
So so that's what kind of the reason why my dad's always like, you want to know why I saved the money? And why I wanted to make money is because of this. Now I have the ability to say, son, I want you to get the best care. The best care is down in Texas. You need to go down to Texas and get the care. Your wife's pregnant, no problem. We'll put her in an apartment. You guys will have an apartment together down there. Oh, you got a dog? Okay, it'll be a dog-friendly apartment. I mean, that's what my dad did. And when my dad had throat cancer 20-some years ago, he went down to the same place. It was a different type of treatment because things had changed already over 20 years. But my dad, again, had the apartment. He was flying back and forth, and I was racing cars at the time. And so my dad would fly back on Saturday night so I could race cars, and then would fly back to Texas to get his treatment and fly back. And he did those things because he wanted to do racing with me because he wanted to create those memories. He took us on those family trips because he wanted to create those memories. So if we can tie all that stuff back into the planning part, so that's all what the first meeting's about. Finding out, okay, well, you saved it here. Okay, what was your decision process here? Why did you make those investment decisions? Okay, is that going to help you achieve you going to be able to spend more money in retirement and to be able to get your kids more trips or go on more family trips so you can create those memories? That's why we have these first meetings, so we can understand what that money is really going to do for them.
That's crazy. I did not know about that story about your brother. Absolutely insane. But yeah, that's great. You're finding their why, and then it sounds like you make them picture a dream, right? And then how they can get that dream their reality. So you almost get them to envision. Even there, I'm thinking about my son and how I could provide and what I need to do now. But see, again, and even in this podcast, you're getting me to dream and picture a future life. And now I'm concerned, how do I get there, right? So very well done. That's awesome. So first appointment seems like it's probably one of the most important steps. Getting them plugged in, finding out their why, and then getting them to dream and invest in that self. Before we get to appointment, the second appointment, and all that, you end the call. How do you do that? Like, what's the ending, and then how do you get them to schedule the next one the week out or whatever?
Yeah, so I say, all right, great. I think I have enough information to put some plans together. Is there any questions that you have that I didn't ask that you feel like I should have asked? And they'll say, sometimes they'll ask me, how do I make money and that kind of thing. I say, well, I don't know if we'll be working together or not, so I don't know if we want to go down that path, but we typically make money by working with people that are working with money under management. But at the end of the day, I don't know if we're going to work together or not. This has got to be a two-way street. I got to be able to provide you significant value. And if I can't, I'll let you know. And if I can, I'll let you know too.
That's awesome.
Are you looking for somebody to help you? So then I'll answer it with another question. And then they'll say, yeah, I'm going through, I want to find somebody to help me with my finances. I want to make sure that, so they'll open up then about what they're looking for.
Okay.
The next part is I say, all right, I got enough stuff that we can put together. So what we need to do is book the next meeting. And that meeting is going to go over your financial plan. So I'm going to take everything that we took or learned from today, I'm going to put into your financial plan, and then I'm going to show you how this financial plan will meet your goals. And they say, okay, great. All right, so same time next week? And they'll say, sure. Or they'll say, can we do it this day? And I won't let them go out longer than basically a week. I don't want them going past that. Maybe I'll let them go if it's like a Friday. Like I can't do Friday, but I can do Monday. Okay.
Okay. Except for the typical excuse of I have a vacation next week or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone hears that.
And if that's the case, sometimes it's good to know too ahead of time if they're going on vacations, because what you don't want to do is have your second meeting, then your third meeting land when they're going to go on vacation. So sometimes it's important to know when they are going to go on vacation, and I'll ask that sometimes, like if they kind of mention it, I'm like, are you, this is a lengthy or medium process. Do you plan on traveling anytime soon just to work around our meetings? And if they say yes, then I'll try to make sure that we plan the second and third meeting after that trip.
Okay.
So if they're like, oh, I'm going on vacation next week, I can't make it, great, no problem. We'll book the second meeting after, and then we'll do the third meeting after that.
Got it. Very cool. So second meeting, you're going into it, right? Virtual. Are you finding yourself any issues on getting statements from individuals willing to email you? I'm assuming that's what you need for the next stage, right? To put that plan together?
Correct. So in the second meeting, because what I'm doing in that first meeting, if it's virtual, I have the retirement strategy analysis in front of me. I'm writing everything down as far as what they have. And I ask them, to put a proper, because a lot of people are coming here because they want a full financial plan, which includes taxes. And I just tell them, look, I can't tell you financially what to do if I don't have the full picture, meaning I need to just look at your statements to see exactly what you're in, so I know what the risk is, and then I could properly tell you how to mitigate the risk and to mitigate the potential tax issues you might have down the road. And they say, okay, I'll give you that stuff. But usually that first meeting, what they're trying to do is really vet you, meaning like, do I trust you? Yeah. And if you don't come across trustworthy and you're having a hard time getting their statements or booking their second appointment, then something's going on with you and how you're presenting yourself. It's not, stop blaming the lead vendor, okay? It's not.
Yeah, that might be hard to hear for some people out there. So,
yeah.
Well, maybe we X that one out of the podcast. I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know how many times I've heard people say, "Hey, if you get me in front of someone, I'll close them." Okay, yeah. Well, that's typically the person that can't close. So,
yeah, 100%.
If you don't know how to farm or to hunt originally, then it can be hard to kill. So, the first meeting virtually is a little different just because you are building that rapport through the virtual aspect. It hasn't really changed, though. It just sometimes takes a little bit longer for them to understand when you're presenting the plans, for them to understand the plans versus when you're in person. So, like, the first meeting doesn't really matter so much as the second in person or virtually. Versus the second meeting. The second meeting is very crucial virtually. You need to be able to present. You need to have them on the Zoom. You need to be able to screen share so you can show them things, because people more often than not are visual learners than they are audio learners.
Yep.
So it's going to be pretty hard for people to learn what you're trying to show them. So I think the second meeting, just looking at the time here, Josh, I don't know if we even have time to go to the second meeting.
That's going to be a 3-part series. Everyone's just going to have to listen to first meeting, second meeting, third meeting, and then we can do our favorite, the next podcast that I'm super excited about. But
yeah, what you're leaving out there is I've been seeing a lot of ads that some other financial advisors have been doing, and so what we're going to do is come up with I don't know, maybe we should do it like every week. We just say, hey, take a look at this ad. How would you rank it? Do like a ranking.
I like it. And
we could rank what we think the ads, how they perform, and then we could even like test them. No, I don't want to do that. That's bad.
No, that might be a waste of money.
It is a waste of money.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
It's just funny because you have so many people that will like have ads out there, and the bottom says like RIA firm that has 22B under management. And it's like the only people that would understand that are people that are in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
People that are not in the industry would not say, "Oh, I know what an RIA is. I know what 22B stands for." Like,
yeah.
And
nor do they care, right? At the end of the day, people care about themselves.
And how would they know that 22 billion is a lot or little in the industry?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be a fun one. I'm looking forward to that one. Maybe this is a weekly thing that we do. We do just a couple of videos of something on YouTube or whatever on that. So that will be fun.
It's kind of like in some of those those gaming videos that you and I watch. Like, yeah. Anyway, so it's just. I think it's going to help. I think that will help, though, where some advisors just think, hey, if I just create a Facebook ad, they will come. Which that does sometimes work. If you're really bad at doing ads, you might
if you spend enough. Yeah, if you spend enough. There's always a way to make money if you just spend a lot of money. So, but yeah, we can continue this and do second and third appointments. Maybe the next podcast we just kind of hop right back in, right?
And just so people know, like this is also recorded video, and you can also watch this on YouTube, and you can. So I know, like I was saying, you looked a little bit nicer last time. I'm like, oh yeah, people don't really realize we're recording this as a video, and they can watch this over YouTube or our Instagram channel, our TikTok. What else are we doing? Facebook. We're putting out a lot of our content out there, so make sure to follow us on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, wherever you like to get your daily content, and you can watch the full video if you want. And then obviously when we get the ads going, we'll want you will definitely want to watch the videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course always like and share, right? But yeah, it's fun because I think what we're known at for doing really well is paid marketing and kind of getting the ROI there, and we're stepping our feet in and getting this content stuff going because we know it can be a big it can work, and to try to help advisors. So as we venture out to these new platforms, it's good to share it with everyone, and they can watch them in each platform.
Cool. Well, as always, Josh, happy Friday, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. All right.